This video is going to be on excitement neutrophilia, which is also known as physiologic neutrophilia. So you might hear those terms used interchangeably. And excitement neutrophilia is due to a rapid release of epinephrine, which is also known as adrenaline. And this epinephrine comes from the adrenal medulla. Now this is in contrast to cortisol, which is made by the adrenal cortex, which is the cause of a stress neutrophilia. So excitement neutrophilia, epinephrine, adrenal medulla, stress neutrophilia, cortisol, adrenal cortex. So this epinephrine is released during a fight or flight response. So scared animals or excited animals. And the response most commonly occurs in young, healthy animals. It tends not to occur in sick animals or depressed animals. And the species that it most commonly occurs in is cats and horses. So you most commonly see this in young, healthy cats and horses. Now, to explain how this excitement neutrophilia occurs, I'm going to draw a heart and a blood vessel. And the heart is going to be a kindergarten version of a heart because I cannot draw a real heart. So pardon my drawing. Within the blood vessel, there are two neutrophil populations. The first is the circulating neutrophil population. And these neutrophils are free-flowing within the blood. And these are the neutrophils that are sampled during a blood draw. However, these neutrophils do have cell adhesion molecules, and they do transiently adhere to the endothelium. And when they transiently adhere, they are then entering the marginal pool of neutrophils. Now, these marginal neutrophils are not sampled during a blood draw, but they can re-enter the circulating pool to be sampled during a blood draw, or they can undergo migration into the tissues. When there is this release of epinephrine during an excitement neutrophilia, this epinephrine causes an increased heart rate, increased stroke volume, and an increased cardiac output. All of this results in increased blood flow through the blood vessels, and this increased blood flow essentially forces those marginal pool neutrophils or washes those marginal pool neutrophils off of the endothelium and into the circulating pool. So an excitement neutrophilia is due to this shifting of marginal neutrophils to circulating neutrophils. Now also during this epinephrine release, there is a splenic contraction. So remember, there's lots of muscle within the spleen, smooth muscle, and this contraction results in release of cells that are stored in the spleen out into the peripheral blood. There are two cell types that we're concerned about with an excitement neutrophilia, the first of which is red blood cells. So the red cells are released from the spleen into the circulating pool where, again, they are measured during a blood draw. The second population is platelets. The spleen is a great storage area for platelets, and splenic contraction can redistribute those platelets from the spleen into peripheral blood. So the things that we look for with an excitement neutrophilia is a mild neutrophilia. It tends to be less than 2 times the upper reference interval. We also look for a mature neutrophilia, meaning that there's no left shift. Now, since the bone marrow isn't releasing neutrophils, we're not seeing younger neutrophils. It's just a shifting of mature neutrophils within the blood vessels. There is also a marginal pool of lymphocytes, and that increased blood flow can wash those marginal lymphocytes into the circulating pool of lymphocytes. So an excitement neutrophilia is often accompanied by a lymphocytosis. The erythrocytosis and the thrombocytosis is again due to splenic contraction and release of red cells and platelets from the spleen into circulation. And on a serum chemistry, there is also a mild hyperglycemia, which can get fairly marked in cats particularly. Now, this is a transient neutrophilia, meaning that once the animal recovers from the excited or fight or flight response, then the concentrations of cells return to normal concentrations. And usually this is within 30 minutes. So if you sample again in another 30 minutes to hour, then you should have normal concentrations of these cell types. So that's it. An excitement neutrophilia is due to an epinephrine response, due to a fight or flight response, and it results in increases in cell concentrations in blood. The things that it increases are mature neutrophils, lymphocytes, red cells, and platelets.